or a candidate for president was denounced by his own chief of staff. Again, this isn't some random liberal group saying these things about Donald Trump, telling these stories. Or, we're talking about his own chief of staff and a whole bunch of other people, from his Secretary of Defense to his own vice president.
Does it give you any pause, though, that General Kelly, of course, remained chief of staff even after this incident happened? It's not as if he resigned over it or walked away over it. I mean, we're only finding out about it now.
Let's test the sound.
Well, I think somebody in that role, I'm sure, was
tell me if you can hear me and them.
Hand, there's this kind
Let
of
me know if there's an echo
theory, right? That
tell me all that
you
stuff.
Can restrain his worst impulses. And on the other hand, the desire or duty to step away. But I think the most important thing to remember is that being with Donald Trump is generally a one-way trip. People either stay with him in order to preserve their own power, or sooner or later, as a matter of conscience, they say that he has no business being in office. And again, there's never been a case, at least that I can think of this many Republicans saying vote for the Democrat. Right. And there's definitely never been a case of a president's own top officials either staying quiet or directly saying, watch out, this person is a danger.
Obviously Trump.
It's all good. And you can hear, I love it.
A central part of his 2016 campaign.
I'm going to start calling you just Dr. Beard. That's what I'm going to say. I'm going to call you Dr. Beard.
With the January 6th
I'm just trying to get Instagram set up.
He could be going to prison if he loses this election.
Make sure that the folks
in that context, I want to play for you what President Biden said yesterday about Donald Trump.
It sounds like if I said this 5 years ago, you'd lock me up.
All right, I'm going to go to Instagram. Let me move this out of the way. Move this out of the way. Space on my desk.
That's what you have to do.
I'm also eating.
He caught himself. The addendum there is relevant, but he did say we got a lot.
Looks like I'm live. I can go live now.
Does that make you feel uncomfortable?
All right.
Well, he was quick to clarify what he meant. He's also somebody who has taken care to stay out of the doings of the Justice Department, because that's the right thing to do, and have no involvement in those kind of criminal justice processes. Obviously, this is a very different circumstance from that of Secretary Clinton, because unlike Secretary Clinton, Donald Trump was accused and convicted of a crime.
How's everybody doing?
That's a process that will continue to play out in the criminal justice system. I think the bigger
this sounds kind of loud in my ear. I just want to make sure it's not overwhelming in the sound for you all.
Everybody from Democrats to Republicans to some of his closest members of his inner circle saying, no, he's not. That's a pretty clear answer. But again, what I'm looking forward to tonight is that she'll have a chance not only
as long as it sounds good to y'all, because we had some technical issues last time, and I was just like, what's going on?
Talk about what she's going to do to make people better off. I think this is especially important
put that up here.
In the attention environment that we're in right now, especially with all of the distraction that Donald Trump is showing out there. Right? At the end of the day, this election is not about.
I hope I've been doing well. I have not been doing well. Actually, I've had one of the worst weekends of my entire life this past weekend, which is why in a few minutes I'm going to be very, very, very high. I'm going to eat this chicken, and I'm going to chill with my family as we watch this shit together.
A woman's right to choose, and what Kamala Harris will do to bring back that right. And all of the issues that are actually going to affect how our lives go.
Oh, God. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Thank you very much for joining us ahead of
this candle lit for me. I
need
it.
Which is just a few moments.
Please light some candles.
Tonight's event giving Harris really an 11th hour chance. We are
please talk to your ancestors and tell them to clear out whatever this is.
Early voting in record numbers, even just today. This town hall is important. It's coming up in a moment. Stay with us.
I'm getting there, y'all. Don't worry about it. Okay, so this starts at 9. It starts at about 11 minutes. So please
keep watching and see how we totally transform
get your
from grimy, old, and dingy
food,
to absolutely beautiful in as little as one
smoke,
day. And it's affordable.
To water.
My bathroom needed a serious makeover. My shower was just so ugh. I really didn't think I could afford it. But I started looking around and found Bath Concepts. They make these beautiful custom baths and showers and transform your bathroom in as little as one day. One day. And it's totally affordable. No long, messy, expensive remodel. It's just one quick phone call and Bath Concepts handles everything. They come right out to your house, give you a free price quote and free 3D design so you can see what your new bathroom will look like. Bath Concepts turns your new bathroom
I keep trying to drink from this empty glass.
Call
I have not put
800-403-7817
my wine
and
in
let
this
Bath
glass
Concepts
yet.
take your bathroom
And I
from
keep
yuck
thinking,
to yes
like,
in as little as 1 day. Plus, call right now.
You want to
and
know
get
how my
special
day's
financing
going?
for $0 down and 0 interest for 18 months. Don't wait. Get the bathroom you've always wanted for a price you can afford, and all in as little as 1 day. Fast, easy, and affordable. One phone call is all it takes. Bath Concepts makes it easy and handles everything. Call 800-403-7817 or go to bathconcepts.com. Don't wait another day living with a bathroom you don't love.
You don't have to live with a bathroom you hate. You really can afford the bathroom of your dreams, and even better. Call us now and you can have a brand new bathroom like that.
Call 800-403-7817 or go to bathconcepts.com.
This is gonna piss me off. I already know it's gonna piss me off.
And backed by a limited
but like,
warranty. Call now to schedule your free in-home consultation.
It's gonna piss me off.
Get your free quote and free 3D design plus special financing.
She's gonna
for
piss me
$0
off.
down and 0 interest for 18 months.
Don't
wait. Go to bathconcepts.com.
I'm gonna try to focus on the positive.
7817. 800-403-7817.
I am. I'm gonna try to focus on the positive.
People who have allergies
what up,
will
Katie?
have lots
Good
of
to
problems.
see
If
you.
someone's exposed to
Hey, Ryan, thank you.
they can get rid of those.
Yes, grab your Ben and
by
Jerry's,
washing out the
please.
nose. Navage works by pulling.
Oh no, we're gonna be
saline
in great
one nostril
company. It's gonna
through
be
the
a good
nose and out
time. It's
the
gonna be a
other
good
nostril,
time.
sucking out
Our usual
allergens,
family will be
mucus,
here.
dust and germs. Experience on-the-spot relief, so you could breathe easier.
Elevations will be happening.
Feel healthier. If you have seasonal allergies, Navage can help.
Navage, brand new look, same great product.
I'm Rafael Romo in Atlanta. This is CNN.
Thank you so much. I really hope they find my car too. I would like my car back. Thank you. All right, Allison, I see you on Instagram. Come join us on YouTube. It's so much better. You can chat on Instagram and that's cool, but it's just harder to get the vibe. I am here eating my chicken. We got about 7 more minutes. So I wasn't sure I was gonna be able to stream this because they block a lot of the stuff. But Max lets you stream. I realized you can't stream from the second screen. You guys know I used to use dual monitors. So if I keep it just on my computer, it's good. If I try to put it on my mirroring monitor, the screen goes black.
Get live results.
No. So
an immersive election experience.
We're figuring this out. We're doing this.
Find it in the CNN app today.
I love it. No, I do. I'm telling you all, I didn't know what was going to happen when I started this, but we have absolutely built a great community here to help get us through this political season. You know what I mean? And I really appreciate everybody who comes through and, shares. Yes, thank you. Welcome to my YouTube. Yes. Please hit that like button on this video. That lets folks know that we're here, boost the algorithm, then we get more people to come and watch. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please subscribe to it.
I share them with
now.
you here.
I appreciate you so much.
Isa Suarez tonight, weekdays on CNN.
We want to make sure
CNN.
the likes match the number of people
than any other news source.
watching, and that just gives us a boost. Unfortunately, like it did last time, it attracted some Trump supporters, but I try to stay on top of blocking folks as we go.
From that screen taking over, that is where Kamala Harris is going to take direct questions from a group of undecided and persuadable voters.
I get it. We're actually progressive. That's what we do. We use hashtag actually progressive. Because I don't know what the hell is going on with the Democratic Party. But there are some of us who are still actually progressive. And so we come from that perspective. This is not a pro-Harris or pro-Trump or even anti-Harris, anti-Trump. We don't care about that. We're here for the issues. We're here for what's really going on. And we see behind the veil. We see this shit for what it is. And so that's why we come together under
he's got a message.
My tag political theater with Dr. T, and I call it political theater for a reason,
he is
right?
Well,
it is theater.
President Obama is very
it
effective
is
at reaching
a spectacle.
voters,
This is a circus,
and urging them
and
to
everybody
go to the
here is
polls.
playing a
I think
role.
he's very
So I call
motivating.
it
I think he's
political
more
theater with
popular
Dr.
than he's
T.
ever been.
We've been here
And I think
all
he's
season, election
probably the most
season.
effective
We will be
surrogate
here
that
having a
Kamala
watch
Harris
night
has.
party
I think
for
what's
the
notable
election.
is the
Okay, for the
message that was
countdown.
reported out
We
about
know we're going to be right here with
closed
CNN.
fundraiser is different from
And starting
what
at
he's
around
saying
6:45
publicly,
because the numbers start coming in at 7
the
p.m.
message here
We're going to be
is,
here. We're
winning
going to put
one
on
is
some
to talk
fancy
about how
clothes.
Donald
I've
Trump is
invited,
unfit for office.
some of you, if
He
you want to
is.
come and be on the
When you
stage
have
with
two
me, I
four-star
think Katie
generals,
said she'll
highly
do it.
respected, who served under you say so. I think that's
Some others may want to
disqualifying.
do that.
But the swing
We're going to
voters
have a
don't want
party.
it.
We're going to have a party.
Already.
We're going
If
to do
they're
this
undecided
together. Tell a
about Donald
friend.
Trump's
I'm going to
fitness
set up
for
the
office,
thing for
they're
it.
not
I'll
looking
promote
for
it.
more
Tell a friend.
information
We're going to
about
be here.
that question.
So
They're looking
I
for,
appreciate that.
what President Obama talked about at the convention, which is he's whining about his problems, not thinking about yours. And then you go right to the economic message. You go right to the women's health message.
Thank you so much for hitting the like button.
That's what's going to move voters.
Van, is she?
We really have made it 100 days.
Yes, but
we really have made it this whole time. Remember when we first started out? We have made it. We've gotten through presidential debate,
and Kamala
vice
Harris
presidential
has a
debate.
Great plan for them. Donald Trump's economic plans are
I hate
horrible.
this. I'm sorry.
And hers are great.
Van Jones.
If we talk about that, the people
They
who are
both are projecting
used to
that
DM me.
billions of dollars.
What do you
to the
want?
federal
yes, the debt, but
What do you
will I
want?
be able to get my mom help? Will I be
See, I'll be
able
sleeping.
to pay
Everybody,
a lot more for stuff I want
everybody
to buy
know
because
me.
of these stupid tariffs? So I think
Everybody that
at
be
the end of the
pretending
day,
they don't
Kamala
know me.
Harris needs to make I want you guys to do well. I want you to be
What you know?
financially successful. I've got plans to do it. And use
I'm
the
that girl.
contrast to talk about what she's going to do for you.
And her biggest obstacle she has to
Welcome.
overcome is about 30% of voters who want to know more specifically about her policies. And there
100%.
are specific questions.
100%.
Would you extend or support extending Trump's tax cuts, or would you approach it
100%.
differently? There are some things
It's
that I think
complete
she could get tonight that specifically hit people's pocketbooks that are going to resonate with independent voters. And she's
This
so
is
far
what
been able to
so
articulate
this is
some
what many of
forward-looking
us,
visions, and
you
she's
know,
closed the
are. I
margin on
voted. I was an
who would handle
uncommitted
the
person
economy better.
myself.
This recent AP data has voters supporting her just as much as
700,000
Donald Trump on that.
people.
But she needs a more
You're
forward-looking
talking almost
agenda that
3/4 of a
separates her
million
from Biden
people.
and distinguishes her from
Okay.
I so agree with what
Many of
Jay
whom are
said,
voting
and
in
I
swing
don't think
states.
I think you can fall into a trap if you're
The
just
majority of whom
listing
have consistently voted
proposals.
Democratic.
You have to talk about the
You're throwing
experience of
away
people
those
in this
votes
economy,
with the
and she
hope
needs
of
to make that
grasping
connection here and talk about how her
100,000
policies
bigots.
will actually help. She's got
This
practical
is stupid at
policies
this point.
on housing, on taking
This
care
is
of an
stupid.
elderly parent, on the kinds of
No, me
things
too.
that
That's
people
why I had
talk
to.
around.
I had to
talk
get
about
juiced up.
around the kitchen table, and there are a lot of families in this country who are
I
talking
had to
about
pop that
not
shit
democracy.
early.
I'm just.
I was like, I need to be when she starts talking.
Kamala Harris has to. She got to make that.
They are going to press her on the trans
On the
issue.
way
She
over
is
here
going to
today,
say the
my
same
Uber
shit
driver
again.
from Ghana,
And it's going to
who's
piss
been
us
here
off
10
unless
years,
somebody got time. Unless
doesn't
we've
know who
been
I am.
putting
I'm
enough
asking
pressure
kind
on
of what do you
social
pay attention
media
to the election, how things
that her
going.
speech writers are like, we got to figure
He's
something out.
card. He
But I think
said,
she's going to say the
all
same
my
bullshit.
friends, obviously he's from Ghana, African American guy. He said, all my friends. I said, who are you voting for? I can't vote. All my friends are voting for Trump. I said, really? Why? He said, immigration is terrible. He said, it's killing us.
No, you're right. You're right. You're right. No, we absolutely are anti-Trump, but I don't want people to think that this is the objective of this channel or this particular series that I do.
These guys aren't
is to just single in and bash any one person. If you're wrong, you're wrong. You're right. You're right.
What is she
Right?
doing tonight about
If
that?
Donald Trump,
Beyond
I'm watching it, and the Knicks say, "Oh, I want to do X, Y, Z," and X, Y, Z is something I agree with. I'd be like, he's cool. If not, he's cool, but that's cool. I'm not gonna lie.
Economic proposals.
Malcolm X said, "I'm for the truth. I don't care who tells it."
Certainly not to that degree. She can actually, in this case, take.
She's going to say the same shit about Palestine.
Yeah, from the sitting.
She's going to say all the same shit that we've been hearing her. And then we can just go on social media and watch
significantly in the last
the blue MAGA all lose their minds.
And then I think she has to talk about. I think the affordable housing proposal she has is novel.
We got 1 minute
and meaningful to a lot of voters. The $25,000 injection to help, for small business. These things are meaningful to people.
They're still talking.
I'm going to say what's going on with the gold market, the treasury market, and everything out there.
Y'all said 9 o'clock. Let's go.
What it means. I mean, it's not going to change the next week here, but
What I hope she doesn't do is spend a lot of time talking about the comments that Trump has made about admiring Hitler's generals or whether or not he's unfit for office. That's out there. It's getting plenty of attention. She needs to talk to
the extent she's talking about his instability, it should be
I hope she's
what
wearing
I'm
a brighter
focused on,
color
and
suit
that's what he's
today.
focused on.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm going to focus on you. He's going to
navies
focus
and
on
stuff. She
his
looks good in
vengeance thing of the
pastels.
day. And whose problems is that going to solve?
All right. Well, here we are. It's about to begin, and we're going to get to see exactly what case she makes, because it is time now for the big event. The CNN presidential town hall, hosted by Anderson Cooper with Kamala Harris, begins right now.
Do we need them that big? Can I just be right here? Like, do we really need to see all of that? Y'all good? Because this is my channel, right?
Good evening. Only 13 days to go in one of the most momentous and unusual presidential races in American history. Tonight, Kamala Harris faces voters in the biggest battleground prize, Pennsylvania. CNN's presidential town hall begins right now.
I was just thinking that. I didn't know that Anderson was doing this. I thought Tapper was. Or Bash. But he used to have that series, keep them honest, so.
And welcome. We are live from Chester Township, Pennsylvania, Delaware County, one of the critical counties around Philadelphia that will help determine who wins the White House. Welcome to CNN's presidential
Fun fact,
hall.
Chester County,
the Democratic nominee, Vice President Kamala Harris,
was the home to
now in this room,
Dr. Martin Luther King for a while.
32 Pennsylvania voters who say they are still undecided or persuadable. All of them are registered to vote. Some cast votes for Joe Biden in 2020, others for Donald Trump.
What up, Instagram? Join us over here on YouTube. We're having a good time.
Election. Many
hit that like button on the way in.
One candidate or another, but they all say they have yet to make their final choice.
Where's Kia? I need Kia to
now
come.
We found these voters working with a nonpartisan research firm, as well as
that
business, religious groups, universities, and other civic organizations. These voters are asking their own questions tonight, selected by CNN to cover a variety of topics. You may see them holding a piece of paper when they're asking their question. It has their question on it. That is a question they have come up with. It has not been edited in any way by CNN. We also invited former President Donald Trump to participate.
Oh, so that'll be fun. That'll be fun. She doesn't get the questions in advance. I like when she doesn't get questions in advance, because then that's when she gets to stuttering and lying and not knowing what to really say. So
appreciate it. Thanks. You have a mic right here.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening.
Thanks so much for being with us. We're going to get to the audience in just a second. I want to start by asking you, though, for weeks you have been calling Donald Trump unstable, unhinged. You've called him dangerous. You quoted General Milley recently, who called him a fascist.
Why are they still standing?
Today, you quoted General Kelly, who said that Trump repeatedly praised Hitler.
Yeah.
But there are tens of millions of Americans right now who have heard all those things, and they don't buy it, or even if they do, they're still going to vote for Donald Trump. He's arguably more popular now than ever. You have 13 days to go. What do you say
13 days, y'all,
to convince them? Because some of them are in this room.
Sure, and I thank you all for taking the time to be here. And you could be doing a number of other things with your time.
We really could.
This really is proof that we love our country. People are engaged.
I was going to move around,
and really want to talk about the issues. And so the issue that you raise, yes, I do believe that Donald Trump is unstable, increasingly unstable, and unfit to serve. And I don't necessarily think that everyone has heard what you and I have heard repeatedly, which is the people who know Donald Trump best, the people who worked with him in the White House, in the Situation Room, in the Oval Office, all Republicans, by the way, who served in his administration, his former chief of staff, his national security advisor, former secretaries of defense, and his vice president have all called him unfit and dangerous. They have said explicitly he has contempt
for the Constitution. That's a good pivot to take it away from me. It's not just me.
They have said
his own people have said he's unfit
as president of the United States.
Very smart.
We know that is why Mike Pence is not running with him again. Why the job was empty. And then today we learned
Trump
that
also
John
said he wasn't going
Kelly,
to run with Pence.
a four-star Marine general, who is his longest-serving chief of staff.
The standing is weird. I thought it was going to be like a fireside chat.
In the last 2 weeks of this election, talking about how dangerous Donald Trump is. And I think one has to think about, why would someone who served with him, who is not political, a four-star Marine general, why is he telling the American people now? And frankly, I think of it as he's just putting out a 911 call to the American people.
He's pulling a James Comey.
Understand what could happen if Donald Trump were back in the White House. And this time, we must take very seriously those folks who knew him best and who are career
Let's
people.
be honest. He told Pence that he wasn't running with them anymore.
To hold him back. At least before, there were folks who we know what he would say, but they would restrain
because then it becomes I'm not making this up. I'm not just saying it. Don't put this on me, Ricky Bobby.
In the situation where he who has openly admired dictators said he would be a dictator on day one. The former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff,
getting
he said he is a
canned
responses
responses now. God, I'm just waiting for the audience questions, and we'll get the real
people reflect,
Kamala Harris.
especially those who are undecided, on who you should listen to. Don't take my word for it. In fact, go online and listen to John Kelly, his voice, talking about.
She's been doing the go online, see for yourself.
Trump 2 weeks
at the rallies. She's been showing a video. She started showing a video. She'll say,
Anderson,
he said, like, listen to his words, and then she plays the video.
Who clearly, by
that's what she's been
here,
doing at rallies. I don't know if you haven't watched it. I do watch them. I watch them
in a way that is about grounded in issues and fact. And when they hear these facts, I think it compels a lot of people to be concerned about
hit that like
the
button
future
on the
of our
way in,
country
please.
with Donald Trump at the lead.
You've quoted General Milley calling Donald Trump a fascist. You yourself have not used that word to describe him. Let me ask you tonight, do you think Donald Trump is a fascist?
Yes, I do.
Yes!
Yes, I do.
So are you.
And I also believe that the people who know him best on
game
this subject should be trusted. Again, look at their careers. These are not people, with the exception, I think, of only.
They're not going to like
Mike
that, though.
Pence.
She's going to get backlash for that.
These are career people who have served in the highest roles in national security, who have served as generals in our military, who are highly respected.
I know a fact one. I see one every day.
The person who would be commander in chief. Not to mention what we know and what they've told us about how he talks about the military, servicemen and women, referring to them as suckers and losers.
Ooh.
How he demeans people who have.
I just want everybody to please watch her face.
To sacrifice their life.
See the compassion and the passion in her face as she's talking about these folks.
And
let's see if this shows up
part of this
when talking about other
just
people,
this week,
right?
I traveled.
Everybody said, "Oh, well, she's not going to show whatever for everything."
Cheney,
she's
former
perfectly capable
member
of
who was
performing
very
compassion.
high-ranking Republican.
Let's
she has endorsed me.
Right
her father, the former Vice President of the United States, Dick Cheney, is voting for me. Over 400 members previous members of the administration, from Ronald Reagan to both Presidents Bush to Donald Trump, even have endorsed my candidacy. And the reason why among them is a legitimate fear based on Donald Trump's words and actions.
She's focusing so much on the "I'm not Donald Trump" thing.
To support and defend
I want them to move her forward and get her out of that space where she is.
The Constitution of
I'm
the
just
United
not
States
him. I'm just not him.
To earn your vote.
This is what he's doing wrong. This is what he's doing wrong. I want her to move into this is what I'm doing right, and I'm going to continue doing right.
No one.
She needs to do that.
Standing behind the seal of the President of the United States of America.
All right, we got tons of people in the chat. I know a lot of you have not hit that like button.
Saying they want to terminate
hit that like button on YouTube, please. If you're on Instagram, come in. Please come over to.
I want you to know the registered Republican
who's
very concerned about Trump's views on democracy and January 6th. She told us she's looking for a reason to vote for you, but is yet to make her final decision. Her name is Natasha Kwiatkowski. She's a student at Bryn Mawr College.
Here we go.
What's your question, Natasha?
Awesome. Thank you for being here, and thank you for taking my question.
Yeah.
And as someone who hasn't fully committed to either party, how do you plan to address the concerns of independent voters and anti-Trump Republicans like myself who feel left out of the polarized political landscape? And what specific actions would you take to bridge the political divide and create more unity?
That's a wonderful question. I pledge to you to be a president for all Americans. And I think, to the point of, in the spirit of your question, that people are frankly exhausted with what has been happening over the last several years, which is this environment that is suggesting that Americans should be pointing fingers at one another, that we are divided as a nation, instead of what I think you and I
same canned response. Anil said she was at her strongest and she was pushing what makes her an affirmative positive choice. And I agree with you.
And I think that the American people deserve to have a president who is grounded in what is common sense, what is practical, and what is in the best interest of the people, not themselves. I started my career as a prosecutor.
Prosecutor.
And I will tell you, I never in most of my career was outside of Washington, D.C., by the way. Only 4 years when I was in the Senate were in Washington, other than being vice president. I have never in my career as a prosecutor asked a victim or a witness of a crime, are you a Democrat or a Republican? The only thing I've ever asked is, are you okay? And I do believe that is what the American people deserve in their president, and not someone who makes decisions based on who voted for them or what is in their personal interest. And I reference that because, as we know, it has been revealed that Donald Trump, when he was president, during extreme disasters, when it came time to determine how those areas, those people who had been traumatized by extreme weather would get relief, he asked the question, did they vote for him? I believe the American people deserve better. And they deserve a president who is focused on solutions, not sitting in the Oval Office plotting their revenge and retribution.
Let me introduce you to Eric Swenson. He runs a service desk for an IT company in Conshohocken, Pennsylvania. He's registered as a libertarian, describes himself as an independent. He says he's undecided.
He looks like a Joe Rogan libertarian.
Thank you both for being here.
Thank you, Eric.
So my question is concerning grocery prices have gone up quite a bit in the last 4 years. And some people blame former President Trump. Some people blame President Biden. Who would you say is correct? And what would you do to bring prices down for Americans?
Thank you, Eric. And you're absolutely right. You know it. I know it. I think most Americans know it. Price of groceries is still too high. And we need to address it in a number of ways. One of my aspects of doing what we need to do to bring down the cost of living for working people and the middle class in America is to address the issue of grocery prices. Part of my background and how I come to it is probably a new approach grounded in a lot of my experiences as a former attorney general, where I took on price gouging. And part of my plan is to create a new approach that is the first time that we will have a national ban on price gouging, which is companies taking advantage of the desperation and need of the American consumer and jacking up prices without any consequence or accountability. So that is one way. But to your point, Eric, there are a number of issues that we need to address in terms of bringing down the cost of living. It includes what we need is a new approach that I bring to the issue of affordable housing, including, for example, rent. And again, I bring to it my experience, knowing what has been happening in terms of how corporations have been buying up blocks of property to diminish competition, and then rents get jacked up, and addressing that, both in terms of making sure that there is a consequence and accountability for that, but also investing in people's dreams of home ownership, knowing that for too long, frankly, both administrations in both parties, Democrats and Republicans, haven't done enough to deal with the issue of housing. And we need a new approach that includes working with the private sector. I say that as a devout public servant, working with the private sector to cut through the red tape, working with home builders, working with developers to create tax incentives so that we can create more housing supply and bring down the price.
Let me just ask you about price gouging. I looked at your plan. You talk about going after price gougers, and I'm quoting from the plan, on essential goods during emergencies or times of crisis. I get that. How does that help, though, someone like Eric with prices that for years, the grocery prices just been high?
Well, first of all, Anderson, as you know, and obviously CNN has been covering extensively what has been happening in the state of Georgia, North Carolina, Florida. It's a real issue. I was Attorney General of California. I was the top law enforcement officer of the biggest state in the country. I took this issue on because it affects a lot of people.
And then tell people what you're going to do.
And I'm not going to apologize for the fact that we need to actually deal with accountability when these, not all, in fact, most don't, but when companies are taking advantage of the desperation and the need of the American people. We saw it actually during the pandemic.
She wasn't going to win nothing unless World War III starts next week.
There was a reduction of supply, and then they would inflate the price of everyday necessities. Not to mention, by the way, again, Donald Trump should be here tonight to talk with you and answer your questions. He's not. He refused to come.
Now she's pivoting to Trump because she lost her thought. She can't defend and explain what she would do.
A national sales tax of at least 20% on everyday goods and necessities. And that, by economist estimates, independent economists, would cost you as the American
She's talking about him again because she doesn't have an answer.
$4,000 a year.
And she does that. So when she doesn't have the
Mackinoff,
plan, she
a
pivots to what he's doing and how that's
She's a registered Democrat who says she's leaning toward voting for you, has yet to make her final decision. Carol?
Hi, Carol.
Right.
Good evening.
And the Democratic National Committee jacked over $1 billion out of y'all.
My question is this. If you could accomplish only one major policy goal that required congressional action, what would it be and why?
This is a good one.
Well, there's not just one. I have to be honest with you, Carol. There's a lot of work that needs to happen.
The woman said one.
I think that maybe part of this point,
come
how I
on.
think about it, is we've got to get past this era of politics and partisan politics, slowing down what we need to do in terms of progress.
Answer the question.
And that means working across the aisle.
What's one thing
I've done that before
that you want to do?
Whether it be what we were able to accomplish with the bipartisan infrastructure
what's
deal.
One thing you want to do?
The work that we have done in terms of dealing with gun safety.
One thing.
But we've got to work across the aisle.
One thing.
And it is my commitment
I'm not voting for her.
to work with Democrats, with Republicans, with independents to deal with a number of issues. Whether it be what we need to do in terms of housing, and creating legislation that creates incentives for that, what we need to do to reinstate the freedom of a woman to make decisions about her own body and not have her government tell her what to do.
They said.
Whether it be what we need to do to actually invest in a substantial way in the industries of the future, in American-based manufacturing, in American-based industries where American workers and union workers have those jobs. In a way that is good paying jobs that gives people the dignity they deserve. All of those areas I plan on working across the aisle and with Congress, including the issue of immigration, which we've got to fix.
Let me ask you, you've talked about codifying Roe v. Wade. That would obviously require 60
what up, Instagram? What up?
Senate,
come on over to YouTube.
House.
We got over 100
that's a big
in chat. Come over here.
That's a big leap. We don't have that yet. If that's not possible to codify it in the House, what do you do?
I think we need to.
She didn't even believe that last part, yeah.
But the reality of it is this. Let's talk about how we got here. When Donald Trump was president, he hand-selected 3 members of the United States Supreme Court with the intention that they would undo the protections of Roe v. Wade. And they did as he intended.
No, you're wrong.
And now
they
in
installed
20
the presidents
states,
and got y'all
we have
thinking
Trump
that your votes
abortion
matter.
bans that include punishing healthcare providers, doctors and nurses in Texas. Do you know they provide for prison for life? For a healthcare provider for doing the job that they believe is in the best interest of their patient? Trump abortion bans, some that make no exception even for rape or incest. One of the areas I specialized in as a prosecutor was crimes against women and children. The idea
specialized in a lot of crimes. You had cartels.
Violation.
You had the border.
They have no right to
now women.
About what happens to their body.
You had a lot of those things.
This is what's happening in our country. You all may have heard the stories. Women have died.
Women have died.
Women have died because of these laws. And the suffering, I have to say, Anderson, traveling, for example, I was with Liz Cheney this week.
I was with Liz Cheney.
She is
my Republican bestie.
Pro-life. And will also tell you,
name dropping Republicans.
She doesn't agree with what's been happening. I find that many people I've met
that's where we've made it in this
film. Pro-life have said to me,
name dropping.
You know, I didn't intend that this would happen. I didn't intend that women who are suffering a miscarriage would develop sepsis, as has happened many times. I didn't intend that women would die. I didn't intend that there would now be restrictions on access to in vitro fertilization. I didn't intend that there would be an effort to limit access to contraception. So, you know, this is probably like I ain't saying like shit. One of the most fundamental freedoms that we as Americans could imagine, which is the freedom to literally make decisions about your own body.
Decisions about your own body.
And on some
what about if you're transgender?
I think we've got to agree that partisanship should be put aside. And I'll close with this point. I know it is possible. Because when you look at the midterms, in so-called red states and so-called blue states, when this issue of freedom was on the ballot, the American people voted for freedom.
This is Leanne Griffiths. She's registered with no party affiliation. She's a student at the University of Pennsylvania. She says she's leaning towards supporting you, has yet
A black
to
girl
make
at Penn.
a final
She's
decision
lying.
because she isn't sure who's better for the economy. Leanne?
She's lying.
Hi, Vice President. Thank you for being here today. Considering you have been in the position of Vice President for the past 4 years under the Biden administration, how can we expect you to deviate from the direction of that administration compared to your own? How can we differentiate your policy and your beliefs from that of Biden's?
That's a great question, and thank you. Well, first of all,
she said this before. This is
my administration will not be a continuation of the Biden administration,
which is problematic. She keeps saying that.
My own
the
ideas.
Speechwriters didn't tell her to stop saying that shit. It's supposed to be a continuation,
a new
but she's
generation of leadership
revealing the
on
truth
a number of issues
that she's taking the Democratic Party somewhere else.
Have to actually take new approaches.
She's telling y'all.
For example,
She's
what
telling
we talked
y'all
about in terms of housing. My experience that leads to that priority includes what I did to take on the big banks around the foreclosure crisis when I brought billions of dollars to homeowners that were the subject of predatory lending. I know what homeownership means to the American people, not to mention what it meant to my mother, who worked very hard and saved up so that by the time I was a teenager, she was able to buy our first home. I bring to it my experience actually taking care of my mother when she was sick, and it was, as it turned out, dying from cancer. And so I know what it means and have the experience of taking care of an elderly relative, and I have raised children.
I'm hoping they do break off.
So
And I'm hoping that another party of more progressive people actually arises.
A new approach and a new idea.
I don't know what they're doing.
About
they're not
what
progressive
we need
anymore.
to do
We
to
need
deal
a
with the sandwich
progressive party.
generation, which is what we call those folks who are literally in the middle, who are raising their young children and taking care of their parents, which is why my plan and approach says, hey, you shouldn't have to wipe out all your savings to qualify for Medicaid to be able to get support to hire somebody to help you cook for your parent or help them put on a sweater. I've done that. I know what that requires. You shouldn't have to quit your job in order
she
to
didn't
do
have any
the work that is
children while
necessary
she was
to
doing
take care
that, so
of your
she's not
children
part of
and
the
your
sandwich
parents, because it's
generation.
overwhelming to try to do it all. And so my plan is to have and allow Medicare to cover the cost of home health care for our seniors. These are a couple of examples, including what we talked about in terms of price gouging.
They want the same thing.
And what we need to do in addition, and it's a new approach that I think it's well overdue, let's invest in the small businesses of America. The woman who helped raise us
was a
small business
old.
owner. I know who small business owners are. I know what they do. They are the backbone of America's economy. And for too long, we've overlooked their value to the economy as a whole.
We don't do that here.
Much less to the economy
you
of
don't
neighborhoods
get to tell
and
me what to do on my
communities.
channel.
So that's why my plan, and it's a new approach, is about tax cuts for our small businesses so that they can invest in themselves and grow, and in the process, invest in communities, invest in neighborhoods, and strengthen our economy overall. So those are some examples. It's about a new approach, a new generation of leadership based on new ideas and, frankly, different experiences. I bring a whole set of different experiences.
Maybe they'll get the money from the crypto assets that she protected.
Some voters, though, might ask, you've been in the White House for 4 years. You were vice president, not the president. But why wasn't any of that done for the last 4 years?
Well, there was a lot that was done, but there's more to do, Anderson. And I'm pointing out things that need to be done, that haven't been done, but need to be done. And I'm not going to shy away from saying, hey, these are still problems that we need to fix.
I want you to meet Jackson Weiss, who's a student at Drexel University from Flourtown, Pennsylvania, registered Republican, says he's leaning toward voting for you, but is yet to make a final decision. Jackson.
Thank you, Anderson.
Hey, Jackson.
Thank you for taking the time to be here, too.
You too. Thank you.
Regarding the rapid increase in the migrant population, how will you ensure that every immigrant is integrated into American society safely? What benefits and subsidies will you provide them with? And how long will these benefits and subsidies last for an individual? Most importantly, will the American citizens' taxes pay for these benefits and subsidies?
Please answer this. Please just answer this question.
How much money will be allocated?
Well, thank you, Jackson. Let's start with this. America's immigration system is broken and it needs to be fixed. And it's been broken for a long time.
Oh, yes.
And part of what we need to do is always prioritize what we need to do to strengthen our border. I will tell you, I'm the only person in this race among the two choices that voters have. I've personally prosecuted transnational criminal organizations. in the trafficking of guns, drugs, and human beings. I have spent a significant part of my career making sure that our border is secure and that we do not allow criminals in, and we don't allow that kind of trafficking to happen and come into our country. And
what is she talking about?
As my opponent has proven himself,
Hi, Dr. Hall. Good to see you.
He would prefer to run on the problem instead of fix the problem. You may know there were some of the most conservative members of the United States Congress working with others that came up with a border security bill that would have put 1,500 more border agents at the border. Those border agents are overwhelmed. They need the support. They need the backup. It would have allowed us to have more resources to stem the flow of fentanyl. I don't need to tell this state and people around the country what is happening in terms of the scourge of fentanyl and how it is literally killing Americans. It would have put resources into stemming the flow. It would have given more resources to prosecute, to investigate and prosecute transnational criminal organizations. It would have done a lot of good. Donald Trump got wind of the bill and told them, don't put it forward. He killed the bill.
Back to talking about Trump again. Back to Trump again, because she does not have an answer. Back to Trump again.
We have to have a comprehensive pathway.
What was the question? Anybody remember what the question was?
And that includes requiring people, hardworking people, to earn citizenship and do it in a comprehensive, humane, and orderly manner.
Let me ask you about that. I mean, you talk about the bill that Donald Trump quashed. That was in 2024. You talk about the bill he tried to get passed in 2021. That wasn't able to get passed. 2022, 2023, there were record border crossings. Your administration took hundreds of executive actions. It didn't stem the flow. Numbers kept going up. Finally, in 2024, just in June, 3 weeks before the first presidential debate with Joe Biden, you institute executive actions that have dramatic impact, really shut down people crossing over. Why didn't your administration do that in 2022, 2023?
First of all, you're exactly right, Anderson. And as of today, we have cut the flow of immigration by over half. In fact, the numbers I saw most recently, illegal immigration.
But if it was that easy with that executive action, why not do it in 2022, 2023?
Because we were working with Congress and hoping that actually we could have a long-term fix to the problem instead of a short-term fix.
You couldn't have done one and both at the same time?
Well, here's the thing. We have to understand that ultimately this problem is going to be fixed through congressional action. Congress has the authority and the purse. I hate to use DC terms, but literally they write the checks. Part of the issue is in order to really fix the problem at the border. I was just at the border.
You're right,
talking with border agents. You know what they talk about?
Real.
Yes, they are overwhelmed. They're working around the clock. And the other thing that they talk to me about, we need more judges down there to deal with asylum claims. We need more personnel down there to deal with processing. But Anderson, and that's where Congress kicks in terms of dedicating the resources to actually fixing the problem. We have dealt with it such that, to your point,
he's like, you haven't answered the question yet.
As of our
my time, he hurt.
Have lower undocumented immigrants and illegal immigration than Trump when he left office.
That's true.
But we need a permanent solution, and that requires bipartisan work.
Do you wish you'd done those executive orders in 2022, 2023?
I think we did the right thing.
Right on Instagram said they put Anderson in that hurricane and he came back.
Is that we have bipartisan work happening, and I pledge to you that I will work across the aisle to fix this long-standing problem. I think the American people are demanding it on both sides of the aisle, and it's time we actually put the partisan approach to this aside. We know what can work.
Well, let's talk about this compromise bill that you want to pass if you're elected. You said that's going to be a priority. It includes $650 million in funding for the border wall. That's something Republicans wanted. That was part of the compromise. Under Donald Trump, you criticized the wall more than 50 times. You called it stupid, useless, and a medieval vanity project. Is a border wall stupid?
Well, let's talk about Donald Trump and that border wall.
Oh, God.
So remember Donald Trump said Mexico would pay for it? Come on. They didn't. Yeah. How much of that wall did he build? I think the last number I saw is about 2%. And then when it came time for him to do a photo op, you know where he did it? In the part of the wall that President Obama built.
But you're agreeing to a bill that would earmark $650 million to continue building that wall.
I pledge that I am going to bring forward that bipartisan bill to further strengthen and secure our border. Yes, I am. And I'm going to work across the aisle to pass.
But are you going to build the wall? He's asking you, are you going to build the wall?
That
Are you going to
deals
build the
with a
wall?
broken
That is
immigration
yes
system.
or no?
I think Jackson's
Yes
question, part of it
or
was
no?
to acknowledge that
Are you going to
America
continue
has
to build the
always had
physical wall?
migration, but there needs to be a legal process for it. People have to earn it.
We have been asking
And
this
that's
since
the
this
point
show
that I think
started.
is the most important point that can be made, which is we need a president who is grounded in common sense and practical outcomes. Like, let's just fix this thing. Let's just fix it. Why is there any ideological perspective on it? Let's just fix the problem.
To fix the problem, you're doing this compromise bill. It does call for $650 million that was earmarked under Trump to actually still go to build the wall.
I'm not afraid of good ideas where they occur.
So you don't think it's stupid anymore?
I think what he did and how he did it did not make much sense because he actually didn't do much of anything. I just talked about that wall, right? We just talked about it. He didn't actually do much of anything.
But you do want to build some wall.
I want
you do want to build some wall.
This is Annalise Keene. She's from Philadelphia. She works as a fundraiser for Habitat for Humanity. She's registered with no party affiliation. She says she's a Democrat. She's leaning toward voting for you, but said she's yet to make her final decision in part because of the conflict in the Middle East. Annalise?
Thank you, and good evening, Madam Vice President.
Good evening.
My question is, as president, what would you do to ensure not another Palestinian dies due to bombs being funded by U.S. tax dollars?
So
she's tired of this question.
I will say, and I think this is to your point, far too many innocent Palestinian civilians have been killed. It's unconscionable. And we are now at a place where with Sinwar's death, I do believe we have an opportunity to end this war, bring the hostages home, bring relief to the Palestinian people, and work toward a two-state solution where Israel and the Palestinians in equal measure have security, where the Palestinian people have dignity, self-determination, and the safety that they so rightly deserve.
She couldn't
What
remember
do you
the
say
line.
to voters
That's not,
who
she
are
didn't answer
thinking
the
about
question.
supporting a third-party candidate or staying on the couch, not voting at all because of this issue?
I agree.
Listen, I am not going to deny the strong feelings that people have. I don't know that anyone who has seen the images who would not have strong feelings about what has happened, much less those who have relatives who have died and been killed. And I know people and I've talked with people. So I appreciate that. But I also do know that for many people who care about this issue, they also care about bringing down the price of groceries. They also care about democracy and not having a president of the United States who admires dictators and is a fascist. They also care about the fact that we need practical, common sense solutions from a leader who is willing to work across the aisle on behalf of the American people and not themselves. They want a president who cares about a fundamental freedom to make decisions about your own body. Understanding that we're not trying to change anyone's belief, but let's not have the government telling women what to do with their body.
I want you to meet Beth Sandberg. She's a realtor, a mom of 4 from Bella Cynwyd, Pennsylvania. She's a registered Democrat, says she's undecided because of concerns about anti-Semitism. Beth?
Hi, thank you for being here.
Thank you,
Thank you for remembering we need to bring the hostages home.
Of course.
The rise of anti-Semitism and violence from
Here we go.
the rise of
She's gonna have way more
anti-Semitism and violence
compassion.
from
Listen to her
anti-Semitism
tone.
has
Her
risen
tone is going to
greatly on
totally
college
change.
campuses and on our city streets in the last year. How would you combat this growing trend and protect our young adults?
There's no growing
Thank you,
trend.
Beth. You are right, and I will say that we have seen a rise in anti-Semitism. It is something that we have to be honest about and we have to deal with. As Attorney General, I actually published a hate crimes report on a regular basis, and anti-Semitism was among the highest forms of hate in our country, and this was before October 7. And we know what we've seen since. Part of what we've got to do is talk with people so that they understand what are the tropes, what are the roots of what we are seeing, so that we can actually have people be more understanding. We need to have laws in place that make those who would commit crimes on behalf of anti-Semitism and hate, that they pay a serious consequence. We need to have the deterrent so that doesn't happen. We need to ensure that college students
Yes,
are
of
safe
course.
in their school and feel safe to be able to go to class. But I'm going to tell
When
you
was the
what
last
doesn't
time
help.
Arab students felt comfortable
Again,
on
I
college
invite you
campuses?
to listen and go online to listen to John Kelly,
Is.
the
Oh,
former
now we
chief
can
of
go
staff
online. Yeah,
of
John
Donald
Kelly.
Trump,
Okay, okay,
who has
okay.
told us, Donald Trump said, essentially, why aren't my generals like those of Hitler's? Like Hitler, who has referred several times, we've heard the reports for years.
Do you believe Donald Trump is anti-Semitic?
I believe Donald Trump is a danger
Oh,
to the well-being and security
God.
of America.
Yes
He
or
has said
no?
that he's casting himself
Yes
as a protector of Israel.
or no?
Do you believe you would be more pro-Israel than Donald Trump?
Oh my
I believe
God.
that Donald Trump is dangerous. I believe that when you have a president of the United States who has said to his generals who work for him because he is commander in chief, these conversations, I assume many of them took
Yes
place in the Oval
or
Office.
no?
And if the president of the United States, the commander in chief, is saying to his generals, in essence, why can't you be more like Hitler's generals, Anderson? Come on. This is a serious, serious
Yes
issue. And
or
we
no?
know who he is. He
Oh my
admires
gosh, she
dictators,
is dodging
sending love letters
everything.
back and forth
Yes.
with Kim Jong-un. Talks about
I just
the
want her to
president
be,
of Russia,
I
and
just
then
want her
most
to say
recently, the
something with her
reports are
chest.
that in the
Even
height
if
of
I
COVID,
disagree with it,
when
at
most
least
Americans
she
could not
said
get their
something
hands
with
on a COVID
conviction.
test,
This milquetoast
Americans were
shit
dying
is,
by the hundreds a day.
fuck.
He secretly sent COVID tests to the president of Russia for his personal use. So again, this election in 13 days is presenting the American people
Enough.
with a very significant decision. And on the one side, on this issue of who is going to model what it means to use the bully pulpit of the President of the United States in a manner that in tone, word, and deed is about lifting up our discourse, fighting against hate, as opposed to fanning the flames of hate, which Donald
She
Trump
had this
does
one prepared.
consistently. I'm going to tell you, we are an incredible country and we love our country. Y'all wouldn't be here unless we love our country. And there are certain things where we've just got to come together and realize that we do believe in the importance of healthy debate on
I
real
noticed it
issues,
too.
but there are
I
certain
noticed it
standards
too.
we've got to have. And, you know, another point that even John Kelly talked about, I believe, and many have, is January 6th, where you have the president of
Where
the
is
United
Sandman
States
Sims?
defying the will of the people in a free and fair
Oh,
election
shit.
and unleashing a violent mob who attacked the United States Capitol. 140 law enforcement officers
What is she talking
were attacked.
about?
Some were killed. And so
What is she
I
talking
say that
about?
to say the American people deserve to have a president who encourages healthy debate, works across the aisle, not afraid of good ideas wherever they come from, but also maintains certain standards about how we think about the role and the responsibility, and certainly not comparing oneself in a clearly admiring way to Hitler.
We're going to take a quick break. We'll have more from the CNN.
She doesn't remember. That one, she lost the plot. She lost the plot early because it was that simple yes or no answer. Do you think Donald Trump is anti-Semitic? And then that's when she went off on this whole thing. That was the question. And instead of a yes or a no, I'm just like, oh my gosh. Jessica said these non-answers are such a journey. They are. It's a journey.
Hillary never thought she would live out her dream. Then
You're
one
taking a
day,
left on 2nd Street.
you were made to
Going
chase your
north 4
passions.
blocks, you're going to take a
We
right.
were made to put them in a package.
Good evening. Tonight, we have the pride of West Africa. It brings together the Ghanaian, the Senegalese,
Today,
and the
Wednesday.
Nigerian.
You know who likes
Jollof
Mondays?
rice.
Who wants full weeks
So
with
what jollof rice is
Mondays?
the best?
Donald Trump.
Senegalese, we are the original jollof.
It's called Unity Jollof Rice. One people, one.
Oh,
Immersive dinners with world-class chefs. Chase Sapphire Reserve. Make more what's yours.
Empire's quality and customer service were absolutely amazing.
Real customers share their stories about Empire today.
Empire has the most amazing selection. It was perfect. Empire's installation process.
Yes, go get another drink, re-up on your snacks or whatever. We still here, y'all. I don't even know how long this is supposed to be.
From Empire.
But
I have, and I will
take a break.
continue to recommend Empire.
Hit that like button on the way in if you're coming in on YouTube. Please come.
Capital of the world.
Hit that like button. Subscribe, please subscribe. We will be here election night. We'll be here election night. We'll have a party. We'll have a watch party. Come and join us for that too. 13 days.
Explore endless design possibilities to find your personal style. Endless hardy siding colors, textures, and styles. It's possible with James Hardy.
Sometimes life is a funny way of turning sideways. Like when your kid decides they're a professional stylist the morning of picture day, or when your to-do list isn't quite done.
You went to Rite Aid, right?
Or when you're sure you have everything you need, but you actually need one more thing.
We forgot our prescriptions.
She gotta give out a stimmy.
We got you.
She gotta give a $1,500 stimmy.
Yep.
They should get all the barbershop
goes the way
dudes.
you plan, but that's why we're here.
All she gotta do is come out and I will
Rite Aid.
give you
Introducing
men
new
of color
Oroxon Gel, the first FDA-cleared ED treatment available without a
$1,500
prescription.
stimulus.
Oroxon Gel
Jimmy,
is
as they
clinically
call
proven
it.
to work within 10 minutes, so you and
The
your partner can
first
experience
year
the heights of
I'm in
intimacy.
office.
New Oroxon ED treatment gel.
What is happening? Who is this person? All you government bitches don't know nothing about okay, well, whatever that means. You're already offering $6,000 for them to have a baby. Is this a right-wing channel? Somebody want to explain to them? We so far left, we out the door. No, this is not a right-wing channel. Absolutely not. I'm entirely too gay for that. Yeah, it's a no-wing channel, because fuck these people. We, like I said, we not even in the room. we not even in the room. Right, we're out the door. Ain't no wingspan, right? Ain't no wingspan. All of these people are lying sacks of shit. All right, we back.
And we're back with Vice President Kamala Harris. I want to ask you about something I read. I read that one of the first phone calls you made after President Biden announced that he was dropping out was to your pastor. And I'm wondering, if it wasn't a confessional, if you could say what that conversation was like.
Well, my pastor, Reverend Dr. Amos C. Brown of Third Baptist Church, it was an extraordinary day that Sunday when the president called me, and I instinctively understood the gravity of the moment, the seriousness of the moment. I didn't predict or know exactly how that day would play out, and obviously now it's been 3 months since I've been at the top of the ticket. Actually, 3 months as of yesterday. But I just called him. I needed that spiritual kind of connection. I needed that advice. I needed a prayer. And
yeah.
And there's a part of the scripture that talks about Esther and a time such as this, and that's what we talked about. And it was very comforting for me. And
do you pray every day?
I do pray every day. I do pray every day, sometimes twice a day. I grew up, so we grew
does
up
she pray to?
a little neighborhood church in Oakland, 23rd Avenue Church of God. And I was raised to believe in a loving God, to believe that your faith is a verb, you live your faith. And that
No. Oh
that
gosh.
the way that one should do that is that your work and your life's work should be to think about how you can serve in a way that is uplifting other people, that is about caring for other people. And that guides a lot of how I think about my work and what is important.
Let's go to the voters. I want you to meet Joe Donahue from Bucks County, Pennsylvania. He works in customer service for a local retailer. He serves as a local election official. He's a registered Republican who says he's undecided, doesn't agree with your stance on abortion, but he is concerned about what he calls Trump's demeanor and actions on January 6th.
Joe?
Thank you, Madam Vice President, and thank you, Anderson. Madam Vice President, everybody as human beings, we're not perfect. We have our flaws. We make mistakes. We have our weaknesses. And the office of the presidency can sometimes bring those weaknesses out in ways that the incumbent may not expect. What weaknesses do you bring to the table, and how do you plan to overcome them while you're in office?
That's a great question, Joe. Well, I am certainly not perfect. So let's start there.
Yeah.
And
We
I
know.
think that perhaps a weakness, some would say, but I actually think it's a strength, is I really do value having a team of very smart people around me who bring to my decision-making process different perspectives. My team will tell you, I am constantly saying, let's kick the tire on that. Let's kick the tires on it. Because as I mentioned earlier, I started my career as a prosecutor. I was a courtroom prosecutor.
We know.
I've tried everything from low-level offenses to homicides.
Okay.
And I learned at a very early stage of my career and adult life that my actions have a direct impact on real people in a very fundamental way. When I was Attorney General of California, I was Attorney General of what is the 5th largest economy in the world, and acutely aware that my words could move markets. Okay. So I take my role and responsibility as an elected leader very seriously, and I know the impact it has on so many people I may never meet. And that is why I engage and bring folks around. So I may not be quick to have the answer as soon as you ask it about a specific policy issue sometimes, because I'm
all that to say, I don't know what I'm talking about.
I'm going to want to study it. I'm kind of a nerd sometimes, I confess. And some might call that a weakness, especially if you're, in an interview or just kind of
hate her laugh.
being asked a certain question and you're expected to have the right answer right away. But that's how I work.
I don't think I've ever heard the former president admit a mistake. A lot of politicians don't. Is there something you can point to in your life, political life, or in your life in the last 4 years that you think is a mistake that you have learned from?
I mean, I've made many mistakes, and they range from, if you've ever parented a child, you make lots of mistakes too. In my role as vice president, I mean, I've probably worked very hard at making sure that I am well versed on issues, and I think that is very important. It's a mistake not to be well versed on an issue and feel compelled to answer a question.
I want you to meet Pam Thistle. She's from Winmore, Pennsylvania. She's a realtor. She's a widow. Her husband, Mike, died just a year ago. She has 2 daughters in college. She registered with no party affiliation and says she's undecided. She has concerns about how you would handle the economy. Pam?
Thank you. And thank you, Anderson. And happy belated birthday to.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry for your loss.
Okay, that's not a good question.
Yes, and I'm really appreciative for you to be here and get to know you. When you talk about rich people paying their fair share, can you be more specific? Income taxes are already on a graduated scale. where the more you make, the higher percentage you pay in taxes. So the rich are paying a disproportionate amount in taxes as it is.
Somebody is
Over
new here.
40% of Americans don't pay any income taxes. Also, the really high earners may move their money offshore if there are disincentives in the US. This could impact the economy. I would like to hear more nuts and bolts about your economic plans.
Sure. Thank you, Pam. So first of
Okay.
all,
Address that issue.
it is the case in the United States of America that billionaires on average pay less taxes as a percentage than teachers and firefighters and nurses.
I'm talking
And
about
that-
hard workers like pound the street, have some success.
Yes, no, I
Yes.
understand, but I want to just let's
Not
set
the really high.
Let's set the scene, right?
Yeah.
So when I say that
she's
the
dismissing the
richest
question.
among us need to pay their fair share,
Okay.
I am referencing that, and I need to reference that because sadly, Donald Trump, when he was president, gave tax cuts to the richest, to billionaires and big corporations, which added trillions of dollars to our deficit. So that sadly needs to be said in a way that should be obvious to your point, but
Back
is
to him
not
again.
given what he did. Now, in terms of what we need to do to bring down taxes, I have pledged and have a plan for a middle-class tax cut that would affect 100 million Americans, including, for example,
This is
what
what
will
we
do
want
around
to
small
know.
businesses.
What you
In terms of
gon'
tax
doing?
deductions, in terms of what small
We're talking
businesses are now
about
being
you.
mired in terms of a bureaucracy
God, this is
around they have to
bad.
fill out and do their taxes in a way that actually holds them back. Part of my plan includes extending a middle-class tax cut that would include a $6,000 tax cut, essentially a child tax credit for parents and young parents in particular.
But that
Knowing
has nothing
that
to
the
do with
vast majority
working,
of our
though.
parents have a natural desire to parent their children well, but not always the resources. So this is going to include an extra amount of just money that people can use to pay for childcare, which is far too expensive for too many working families. And part of the issue here is this. We cannot, and I will not, raise taxes on anyone making less than $400,000 a year, but we do need to take seriously the system that benefits the richest and does not help out working middle-class Americans. I come from the middle class, and I believe that the middle class needs tax breaks to be able to actually
My
not just get by,
biochemist,
but get
PhD
ahead.
So you're
mother.
saying, well, what you're saying is anyone under 400,000 won't have taxes raised. Or are you saying that anyone above 400,000 will have a tax raise?
I'm saying that there is going to be a parity around what the richest people pay in terms of
You're supposed to say
their
yes or no.
taxes.
Yes,
Right
yes,
now,
the taxes
Anderson,
are
you
going to go
know,
up.
the
Why can't
document,
she say yes or
it is well
no?
documented that some of the
Like,
richest
why
people in our
can't she
country
do that?
have gotten away with a zero tax rate.
But if you're earning $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 under your plan, there's a good chance your taxes go up.
We can't have this conversation without knowing it's very complicated situation, right? If you're talking about a small business owner, I'm going to cut taxes for small businesses, right? Because I know that they need the overhead, the money that they need for overhead to actually benefit the growth of their business, which benefits our economy as a whole.
Let's go to, I want to reference something that about Pam. Pam, we mentioned her husband, Steve, died a year ago. You've talked about your mom, Kamala Harris, who died 15 years ago. What has grief been like for you?
There it is.
Do you still grieve?
Yeah, you don't stop grieving. You don't stop grieving.
FYI, Anderson's podcast on grief is brilliant.
I think
it is
that
beautiful.
there is,
it is therapeutic.
There are like two sides to a coin when you have lost somebody you love. Or that two sides to a coin, that phrase becomes evident, which is if you have had the blessing of
double if they are
close
Scorpios or Leos,
an important relationship with someone, then when you have that, the other side of the coin is that when you lose them, the grief becomes even deeper. But I also believe that, for example, anyone who has lost a family member through cancer or an illness, my mother died from cancer. It is important to try and remember them as they lived and not as they died, because the grief can really weigh you down. I think the brain has a way of, when you're grieving, really
somebody said she just asked me for money
to
again.
try and remember those you have lost in a way
$1
they want to be remembered,
raised, y'all,
as being vibrant.
and they still ask for $5.
And I think it's important to just to to grieve as one does. I don't think there's any correct or proper way to grieve. And the most important thing is I think that
Grieve the
people do not
loss of that
suppress what they're
conversation
feeling at
that
any
you didn't
moment,
answer
and
the question.
the rest of us should give them grace to go through it as they will.
We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back with more from the CNN Presidential Town Hall with Vice President Kamala Harris.
See, I don't know. Y'all getting all them things. I got everything blocked. I don't have none. I'll be getting no political text. I get zero. Zero.
Good evening, ma'am. Doing 52 in the 25 zone.
Yo, this is crazy, yo. How long is it supposed to be? Let me look and see.
It might be my coconut and vanilla whole body deodorant.
How long
It's kind of
is the
pina colada-y.
CNN Town Hall tonight?
It's really tropical.
Oh, I'm getting it. Are you wearing some?
Is it supposed to be 2 hours?
Cucumber and mint deodorant.
Olivia? I think it's 90 minutes.
This is my Jason.
Husband. I started at around 9, so.
Good evening. Tonight we have the Pride of West Africa. It brings together.
Somebody asked, how do you watch
Ghanaian,
this without
the
commentary? You gotta
Senegalese,
subscribe
and
to something that has
Nigerian.
CNN.
So what jollof rice is the best?
Ghana jollof.
Nigerian jollof.
Senegalese.
I understand you are new here,
It's
but
called
this is my
Unity
channel,
Jollof
and I'm going
Rice.
to talk about what I want to talk about.
One jollof.
Immersive dinners with world-class chefs. Chase Sapphire Reserve. Make more of what's yours.
Patients who have sensitive teeth but also want whiter teeth, they have to make a choice, one versus the other. New Sensodyne Clinical White that provides 2 shades whiter teeth as well as providing 24/7 sensitivity protection. Patients are going to love to see Sensodyne on the shelf.
You don't have to
Thank
be a
you,
superstar.
Kia. Oh, it
to
ends at
spin your favorite
10:15?
slots at
Okay,
Hard Rock
so
Bet.
Oh, good.
it'll be over shortly.
That's cool. But what if you are? That's cool too.
Hey, Philanista.
Games for every kind of player. Hard Rock Bet. Roll with us.
I told myself I was okay with my moderate to severe rheumatoid arthritis symptoms.
With my psoriatic
Me
arthritis.
too.
Just okay?
That's how we get through this
And I was
circus.
done settling.
If you still have symptoms after trying a TNF blocker like Humira or Enbrel, Rinvoq works differently. Rinvoq is a once-daily pill that can rapidly relieve joint pain, stiffness, and swelling, as fast as 2 weeks for some. And even at the 3-year mark, many people felt this relief. Rinvoq can stop further joint damage, and in PSA can leave skin clear or almost clear.
Rinvoq can lower your ability to fight
Listen.
infections, including TB,
And I'm
serious
trying to be
infections and blood
conservative
clots,
with my
some
money,
fatal,
too.
cancers, including lymphoma
Oh
and
my
skin,
God.
heart attack, stroke, and GI tears occurred. People 50 and older with a heart disease risk factor have an increased risk of death. Serious allergic reactions can occur. Tell your doctor if you
No,
are or
she
may
is
become
not.
pregnant.
She did not
Ask your rheumatologist
acknowledge
for Rinvoq.
anything about
And take
COVID.
back what's yours.
AbbVie could help you save.
Hey, we gonna do it. I'm telling y'all. Put on a little fancy suit. Put on a little dress. Take a selfie with me in the background. We gonna do it. It's gonna be a good time. It's gonna be a good time. We here for you though. We support sober living. Just jokes. We support sober living over here. $100%. If that was my budget, I'd be such a nice person. I would be such a nicer person. Oh my goodness. You know what? Shout out to that though. You know what? Shout out to sobriety. We giving applause, celebrating everybody on this sober journey. That's beautiful. Yes.
And we are back with Vice President Kamala Harris. I want you to meet Rob McPherson. He's the Chief Marketing Officer for a
All right,
local
here we go. We're
organization.
back.
He's registered Republican from Media, Pennsylvania, who told us he's leaning towards voting for you, but has concerns about what he calls shifts in your policy positions. Rob?
Thank you. Thank you for being here, Vice President Harris.
Flip-flop question.
So welcome to Delco.
Thank you.
Here in Delco, we pride ourselves on being authentic.
Yeah.
And much of what we have seen much of what you've been saying with regard to issues like law and order and fracking reflect a more centrist view than what people are used to hearing from Kamala Harris, leaving some voters to wonder about the authenticity of your current, more moderate positions. Can you talk a little bit about how your positions have shifted and why?
She's not
Sure,
going to
and
answer this
thank you.
either.
So first of all, on fracking, I've been very clear. We kind of dispensed with this in 2020. I am not going to ban fracking. I did not as vice president. In fact, as vice president, I cast the tie-breaking vote that now has opened up more fracking leases. My value on the issue of what we need to do to invest in a clean energy economy and a clean energy future has not changed. But frankly, I now have the experience and perspective of having been vice president for almost 4 years. I've traveled the country. I know that we can invest in a clean energy economy and still not ban fracking and still work toward what we need to do to create more jobs and create US-based jobs in a way that will be globally competitive. On the issue of law and order, as you mentioned, I think there's just a whole lot of misinformation, to be honest with you. I have personally prosecuted very serious crime. It's how I started my career.
Law and order.
I spent most of my career
Law
as
and
a
order. I'm
prosecutor,
a cop, y'all.
not in Washington, D.C. And
I don't know
as
what
my
this has to do
first
with the question.
priority had and remains as a first priority to me, the safety of the American people. So that has not changed. And sadly, I think that there's a bit of misinformation, if not more than a bit. But I'm glad that you raised the subject so that I can
She's
address
upset.
it.
You
But,
see,
but
she's
just
upset.
if you don't mind, just let me
She doesn't
just
like.
finish.
She's tired
because
of
I
this
think
shit. She's tired of this shit.
the spirit of your question is really
And her
important.
whole
I'm glad
body
you raised
shifted.
it. Our country deserves to have a president of the United States who is not afraid of good ideas and does not stand on pride. If a perspective needs to be informed by different points of view to build consensus and to have a common sense approach, I'm never going to shy away from good ideas. And I'm not going to feel the need to have pride associated with a position that I've taken when the important thing is to build consensus to fix problems. I believe in fixing problems. I love fixing problems. And so I pledge to you to be a president who not only works for all Americans,
People keep mispronouncing her name, and that's probably what's going on.
And that means compromise. And it doesn't mean compromising your values or your principles, but it does mean working to get stuff done. And I pledge to you, I will do that.
Just to be clear, though, what he's referring to, and you point out to when you're running for vice president in 2020,
Come on, Anderson.
you were not talking about banning fracking.
Come on, girl.
No, Anderson, I pledge that I would not ban fracking.
Right, I know. You said you would not ban fracking.
Correct.
You know, you had said in the 2019 town hall, there's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. In 2017, we're talking about Medicare
She's
for
mad.
all.
Look at her face. Look at her face.
2019 raised a hand in debate about if border crossings should be decriminalized. Are all of those issues, which those are not your positions now, are all those issues that you're saying through consensus and getting stuff done, you have evolved on?
Well, no, let's take, for example, the issue of Medicare. My point has always been that access
She goes to the safe
healthcare
one.
should
She goes
not
to the safe
just be a
answer.
privilege of those who can afford it. It should be a right for all people.
She went to the safer
So
one.
that is why I have worked on doing what we have done to, one, allow Medicare to negotiate against the big pharmaceutical companies to bring down the cost of prescription medication. We've achieved that in terms of capping the cost of insulin for seniors at $35 a month, capping the cost of annual prescriptions at $2,000 a year for seniors. But my plan moving forward, based on that very principle that I've always had, is as president, to have that cap be for everyone and not just for our seniors. The work that I have done that has been about recognizing the importance of dealing with border security, that has never changed. As I said, I have prosecuted transnational criminal organizations.
She's going to the ones that are the easy layup.
Before I ever ran in 2019.
I mean, you did raise your hand saying in a debate when asked if border crossings should be decriminalized, but obviously that is not your position.
I never intended, nor will I ever allow America to have a border that is not secure. I believe we need to deal with illegal immigration. There needs to be consequences, which is why part of my plan that I have outlined, and again, please go to KamalaHarris.com. Sorry to throw a website on you, but Why not?
Oh, she's
And you'll
flustered.
see that part
She's
of my
floundering
plan
right
includes
now.
what we need to do to actually do
She's
more
lost.
as
Yeah,
it
she
relates
lost
to
her
putting
cool.
resources in, including increasing penalties
Because this is
for
where she
illegal
gets, she's
crossing.
And just finally
caught,
on fracking,
right?
you said you're
She's
clear
caught
you would
with
not
the
ban it as
truth that she
president.
No, I
went
would not ban it as
180.
president.
You're clear on that. Do you think it is bad for the environment, though?
I think that we have proven that we can invest in a clean energy economy.
Oh my
We can
God.
mitigate greenhouse gas emissions. We can work on and sustaining what we need to do to protect this beautiful earth of ours and not ban fracking.
Time is short, so I want to get some more voters in. Tanisha Spall from Lansdowne, Pennsylvania. She works as an education administration manager for the Pennsylvania Department of Corrections. Registered Democrat who says she's leaning towards supporting you, has yet to make her final decision. Tanisha, welcome.
Thank you, Anderson. Thank you, Madam Vice President, for joining us this evening. I appreciate that you did acknowledge that we are a country that is faced with problems and issues. With the Supreme Court being plagued with issues, would you be in favor of expanding the court to say 12, so each justice has only one circuit court other than Chief Justice to assist in making judgments more balanced?
Well, to your point, there is no question that the American people increasingly are losing confidence in the Supreme Court. And in large part because of the behavior of certain members of that court and because of certain rulings, including the Dobbs decision and taking away a precedent that had been in place for 50 years, protecting a woman's right to make decisions about her own body. So I do believe that there should be some kind of reform of the court, and we can study what that actually looks like. But I do believe, but again, let's just, while you raise the point of the court, understand that, again, in 13 days, the American people will decide who is the next president of the United States. In 13 days, you will decide who is sitting in the Oval Office on January 20th. And on one hand, you have in Donald Trump someone who has increasingly proved himself.
Don't answer the question about expanding it to 12.
And who, as
totally
we have
avoid
established,
it.
and the people close to him have established, he is unfit to serve. Somebody who on January 20th, you can be sure, will spend full time, like we know, and we've seen the image mentally of him sitting in the dining room off of the Oval Office, watching for hours as people violently attack the Capitol. You can be sure, because he has said he would weaponize the Department of Justice to go after his political enemies, that you can look at a Donald Trump in the White House after January 20th, sitting in that Oval Office, plotting his revenge. He has talked about
she's
the
flustered.
enemies
See, now you see
within.
she's
We haven't even
hyped up.
raised that subject, Anderson.
She's
The
her
enemies
voice is
within.
having
He's talking about
urgency.
the American people.
She's flustered.
He's talking about journalists.
Doesn't like that she's being
judges,
challenged and doubted.
nonpartisan election officials.
She's losing her
He
cool
has
a little
talked
bit.
about, as John Kelly has talked about, can he send the military after peaceful protesters? And he's going to sit there unstable, unhinged, plotting his revenge, plotting his retribution, creating an enemies list. I'm going to tell you, my list will be a list of how I address and continue to address the issues that you all are raising this afternoon and evening. It will be a to-do list about how we can impact the American people and lift up the American people and address some of the challenges that we continue to face.
I want to get one last questioner in. This is Elkin Pleat. He's a student at Temple University, registered Democrat, leaning towards voting for you.
I've been to all these schools. I have an affiliation with each one of these schools.
First of all, go Birds, and I'm from Danville, California.
Oh, hi, Elkin.
But my question is, what is the proudest moment of your political career thus far, including when you were the AG?
Oh, that's a great one. I've actually had a few.
They said one.
One of them is I, as Attorney General of California, created what I named the Bureau of Children's Justice. And you may be familiar with that as a Californian. And it was because I believe that, frankly, we still have a lot to do in terms of policy that impacts children. And an investment in the children of our country is an investment in all of us and our future. And that work has actually produced significant results. That has been a proud moment for me. It was a proud moment for me to do the work that we've been doing that has addressed issues like maternal mortality. I mean, it's in response to an incredible tragedy, but lifting up that issue in a way that we agree that America should not have one of the highest maternal mortality rates in the world. So I have had the good fortune of, in my life as a public servant, knowing the impact that we can have. And I guess that is probably what motivates me most, because I know we can make a difference. I really do. And I do believe that the American people deserve a president who's going to be hardworking and, you know, will make mistakes from time to time.
Oh,
but it's focused on you.
She's really mad about that. The mistakes
and I think
part.
that is
Yeah,
so fundamental
she's upset
in this
about
election.
that.
So fundamental. You deserve a president. I believe the American people deserve a president who's saying, look, let's just be practical. Let's get things done. And let's not be afraid of having a little joy to the point of, you know, what makes you feel good about your work. Let's do it in a way that is grounded in optimism. You know, the thing that I think
Not
we all
mentioning
know
that the
about who we are as the
maternal
American
mortality
people,
impacts
we are
Black
people who
women
are
specifically.
ambitious.
She hasn't said
We
anything
have
about Black women this
aspirations. We
entire
have
fucking
dreams.
campaign. I hope people
We are
understand that.
inherently
Right?
optimistic. Inherently optimistic. And I think people are exhausted with the idea that we're just going to be divided and angry instead of working on the problems and working together. And that's what motivates me, and that's what makes me proud when we're able to do that. So,
Vice President Kamala Harris, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Anderson.
And thanks for watching. Thanks to all the voters here. Be sure to join CNN on November 5th for election night in America right here on CNN. Jake Tapper and Aaron Burnett pick it up right now.
We will be back with that. All right, y'all. It's been fun. I hope you all enjoyed it. You know, we'll be back definitely for election night. We might come back sooner because she might be jumping in another town forum or something. We don't know. 13 days, things keep popping up. So subscribe to this channel, hit that like button, and you'll get notified when I go live. If you're on Instagram, set your notifications up to let you know when I go live. And I will talk to y'all later.